Lucky Luciano sent 3 hitmen to stab Bumpy Johnson. Only one mistake. They left him breathing the knives, came quiet, professional, certain. They thought the job was finished. But Harlem noticed one detail they missed. Bumpy Johnson was still breathing, and silence began rearranging the rules. It doesn't come with a warning. No phone call. No raised voice. Just steel in the dark and hands that already decided the ending. The room is small. Too small for noise. A hallway that smells like old paint and winter coats. Footsteps arrive without hurry. Men who aren't angry, only certain. Bumpy Johnson feels the first impact before he hears anything. A sharp pull. A sudden weight. The kind of moment where the body understands danger faster than the mind. They don't speak his name. They don't need to. This isn't personal. It's procedural. The blades come quick, practiced, aimed where they're supposed to be. Not rage. Precision. Bumpy goes down hard. Not fighting the floor, not begging it either. He knows something they don't. This isn't about strength. It's about timing. One of them hesitates just long enough to look, to confirm, to believe. That pause costs nothing in the moment. They leave quietly. Professional men walking away from a job they think is finished. Minutes pass, or maybe seconds. Time behaves differently when blood is warm and the city is listening. Bumpy's breath is shallow, but it's there. A quiet refusal. Somewhere beyond the walls. Harlem keeps moving. Cars passing, voices low, windows lit. And without knowing why, the neighborhood begins to wait. Because a message was delivered, but not the one that was intended. The streets outside hum with ordinary life, but inside, the air is heavier. Word spreads without sound. Bumpy Johnson doesn't speak. He doesn't need to. His survival alone is a statement. Neighbors glance from windows. Shopkeepers pause mid-sweep. Children sense it too. The invisible tension curling through the corners of the block. Harlem has always been quick to read a room. Faster than any outsider can predict. Inside his apartment, Bumpy sits, leaning back in a worn leather chair. His eyes are steady. His hands rest on his knees, fingers relaxed but alert. He doesn't flinch when the sirens wail in the distance. He doesn't rise when the phone rings. Every pause, every silent gesture speaks louder than gunfire ever could. Outside, men in fedoras and trench coats gather in corners, eyes scanning, ears pricked. Some are loyal, some are curious, all are calculating. They know that the city's balance of power is delicate and that a single breath can shift it. Bumpy's condition is no secret, yet no one rushes. Respect, earned over decades, dictates the pace. Nobody enters his space uninvited. Nobody acts without permission. The neighborhood watches, waits, and whispers. He is alive. He is present. He is Bumpy Johnson. The hum of Harlem grows tense. Doors click. Steps pause. Conversations lower. In every building, from the corner store to the jazz club, the city seems to collectively hold its breath. Not in fear, not in panic, in understanding. This is how control works here. Not by yelling, not by showing arms. It's restraint, the quiet, the knowledge that one man, seated and unshaken, can influence the whole block without a word. And somewhere in the shadows, those who sent the hit begin to understand their error. Bumpy doesn't celebrate. He doesn't smile. He simply waits. 3 men move through Harlem streets like ghosts in ill-fitting suits, knives concealed beneath overcoats. They are precise, trained, professional. But they are outsiders, strangers to the rhythms of this city, to the silent codes that govern it. They approach Bumpy's building with confidence. One glances around, checking for witnesses. Another mutters under his breath, a nervous edge creeping into his tone. The third adjusts his fedora, masking his unease behind a practiced calm. Inside, Bumpy listens. He hears more than the locks clicking, the soft shuffle of footsteps on the wooden stairwell. He hears intent, the arrogance, the misjudgment, The presumption that a man's legend can be extinguished in a single act of violence. The door opens. The first knife flashes, aiming for flesh, but Bumpy doesn't flinch. He doesn't lunge, doesn't curse, doesn't panic. His body moves subtly, almost imperceptibly, enough to redirect the attack without escalating. One hit grazes him. Intentional or not, it's minor. The outsiders freeze. A mistake. One breath left in Bumpy's chest is all the warning they needed. Eyes meet. Confidence falters. In that instant, the unspoken rules of Harlem assert themselves. Bumpy's silence is louder than any scream. Outside, Harlem watches through half-open windows. Shopkeepers lower blinds. Young men lean against brick walls. Mothers pull children closer. News of the attempted attack spreads faster than the blades ever could. Respect, loyalty, and fear intersect. Everyone knows the outcome was inevitable. Bumpy rises slowly. He doesn't shout. He doesn't threaten. He simply lets them realize the error in their plan. Their knives tremble in hands that no longer feel safe. Control isn't shown through violence here. It's demonstrated through restraint, through presence, through the simple fact that Bumpy Johnson is still standing, still watching, still unbroken. The outsiders stumble back, unsure, silent, calculating their next move in the shadows. And Bumpy, calm and unshaken, returns to his chair, his breathing steady, his authority absolute. The room is quiet now, but not empty. The echo of intent lingers in the air, a tension that doesn't dissipate with sound. Bumpy sits composed, watching. Each man who entered carries the weight of failure, a subtle tremor in his stance betraying the lesson already learned. Eyes dart, fingers twitch near pockets, near concealed objects, but no one moves rashly. Respect has hardened into a palpable force. Harlem's unspoken codes are clear. The line has been crossed, and the consequences are understood without a word spoken. Bumpy leans forward, just slightly, his gaze sweeping the faces of those who came with knives. It's not anger. It's not rage. It's calm assessment. The smallest movement, a tilt of the head, a measured pause, carries authority heavier than any gun. The men flinch. They know instinctively, this is not the time to challenge him. Outside the club, the streets feel different. Passers-by sense the shift without understanding why. The rumor will spread quickly. 3 men sent, 1 mistake, and a man unbroken. That single breath, still in Bumpy's chest, has rewritten the expectations of everyone who dared test him. He doesn't speak. He doesn't raise a hand. But the message is clear. In Harlem, power is measured not by the violence you deliver, but by the control you maintain in the face of it. The would-be attackers exit quietly, the knives still hidden but now meaningless. Every step they take echoes the understanding that the city watches, and that Bumpy Johnson commands more than fear. He commands certainty. The room exhales collectively. Men straighten. Eyes avert respectfully. Even strongest, those who pride themselves on toughness, feel the invisible weight of his calm dominance. Loyalty, fear, and respect intermingle, shaping the hierarchy silently, irreversibly. Bumpy rises. Every movement deliberate, controlled, unhurried. He crosses the floor, each footfall a punctuation mark in the silent narrative of authority. And in that measured stride, Harlem understands that what didn't happen, what wasn't unleashed, is more powerful than any knife could have been. Bumpy stands at the center of the room now, a quiet pivot around which the night's tension spins. The air feels heavier, charged with unspoken consequences, yet there is no shouting, no clamor. Only the subtle assertion of authority, precise and undeniable. The 3 men who came to end him are there too, but they move like shadows, hesitant, uncertain, their confidence evaporated. One shifts his weight, hand brushing the hilt of a hidden blade, testing boundaries that no longer exist. Bumpy's gaze lands on him, calm and unwavering. It's a glance almost casual, yet carries a verdict heavier than any jury's. Harlem watches. Every man in the club knows the significance of restraint. The power in this room isn't in the weapons, the threats, or the whispers. It's in Bumpy's silence, in the patience that stretches longer than fear. The would-be assassins feel it in their bones. The control is absolute, the outcome already written. He steps closer, but slowly, deliberately, leaving no room for panic, only realization. The motion is minimal, measured. A razor, previously a silent warning, rests on the table, angled just enough to catch the dim light, reflecting the threat without violence. The men understand. One wrong move, one slight miscalculation, and they would meet consequences far sharper than blades. No words are spoken. The room is a theater of tension. Faces register comprehension, respect, and unease. The city outside has no idea that its pulse just shifted within these walls. Loyalty isn't commanded here. It's understood. Power doesn't need a shout. It only needs to exist, steady, unyielding, undeniable. Bumpy turns, slow and deliberate, scanning the room as though reading the story in every posture, every faltering gaze. Men who had come to kill him now leave carrying lessons etched deeper than any wound. The balance of power has been rearranged, not through blood, but through the quiet weight of authority. Harlem will remember this night, not because of what was done, but because of what was held back. Because in that restraint, Bumpy Johnson made clear, violence is a tool, but control is a legacy. The club empties slowly, the sound of footsteps and low murmurs echoing against the walls. The three men who came with blades leave first, their expressions hollowed, the adrenaline of failure still clinging to them. They carry no trophies, only the weight of their miscalculation. Outside, Harlem waits in quiet anticipation. Word will travel, as it always does, not through headlines or shouting, but through the subtle, unspoken acknowledgement of who holds power here. Neighborhoods, street corners, and barbershops all carry the same silent truth. Bumpy Johnson dictates the terms. He doesn't need to raise a hand. He doesn't need to draw a gun. Presence alone reshapes the streets. Inside the club, Bumpy remains for a moment longer, seated, letting the gravity of the night settle around him. There is no celebration, no grand declaration, just a steady, controlled calm. Every man who remained, friend, subordinate, observer, feels the lesson embed itself deep. Loyalty is earned through consistency, respect through patience, power through restraint. The threat never repeats itself. Harlem doesn't forget it either. Stories of what could have erupted are told quietly, reverently, each retelling emphasizing restraint over chaos. Bumpy's name becomes a measure. Who in this city commands true authority and who merely carries weapons? In the weeks that follow, no retaliation occurs. The streets, the churches, the businesses, all remain untouched. The lesson has traveled faster than any rumor or gunshot. A man of principle, controlled yet unyielding, can bend fear itself without ever striking. The city feels it, an invisible shift in rhythm, in confidence, in the unspoken code that governs loyalty. Bumpy's legacy grows not through headlines, not through sensational violence, but through the imprint of restraint and mastery. Men remember what he didn't need to do. The choice not to escalate, the calculated calm, the razor held but not used. Power has many faces, but here, in Harlem, it is simple, calm, measured, unshakable. Even decades later, the story circulates. It is repeated in whispers and knowing glances, not in dramatized retellings. The image of Bumpy, unmoved and commanding, survives. Violence is ephemeral. Respect endures. And in that enduring respect, Bumpy Johnson secures a legacy no blade, no scheme, no rival can ever erase.